Good morning, everyone. I'm Dunstan, representing Microsoft, and I'd like to welcome everyone to the Microsoft webinar series. In this webinar series, we will invite a different guest speaker each time to talk about a different interesting topic. You can be updated on all our upcoming webinar by visiting aka.ms/eventshub. I repeat, that's aka.ms/event hub. Today, we are very privileged because we have Tanya of Sitecore to talk to us about turning digital strangers into delighted customers. As you know, this is a hot trend these days, so we look forward to learning about this from Tanya. Now, before I hand over the time to Tanya, a few screen logistics to serve as a guide for you. On the left-hand side of the screen, you see a Q&A chat box. You can post any questions you may have at any time, and we will be answering these questions at the end of this presentation. For your information, this webcast will be recorded, and we will be sending the recording link to you after this show. Without further ado, let's welcome our guest speaker today, Tanya.
Good day, everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar series with Microsoft and with ourselves, Sitecore. My name is Tanya Berber-Giordano, and I'm the Alliance Manager for Sitecore in Asia. Today's webinar will be around context marketing. We'll share how you can use context marketing to boost your conversion and retention rates. So basically what I'll cover is, from a digital marketing perspective, once you've managed to attract visitors to your digital channels, be it a website or a mobile application or social media, etc., how to make sure that these visitors are engaged with your content and the information that you're providing, and that you drive them towards a conversion point. This may be sale. This could also be a sign up or some kind of joining a community, whatever it is that you are driving towards. Then after you achieve that, how to keep engaging with them. So basically how to make sure that your visitors or customers are happy with the information you're providing and you're increasing your brand value. Now, there are certain reasons why it's so difficult to achieve this, or why there's room for getting better at it. And that has a lot to do with the way the world is at the moment, and the amount of technology that we're using, and how hard it is to put all of that together. So I'll cover that in a little bit, and then we go into how to fix that. So obviously, and this is common knowledge, but we are living in a highly connected world, and our consumers have access to really an unprecedented level of information and connectivity. So they're connected to you, they're connected to your partners, but also to each other. So they exchange a lot of information between one another, and they also are connected to your competitors. So they know what your competitors are doing. So that means that they have really a vast amount of information at their disposal and buying power. So it's very difficult to retain their attention, because there's a lot of inputs and information coming their way. So how to make sure that engagement level goes up is really by making sure that you offer them a personalized customer experience. So you understand who they are, what they want, and you provide exactly that information or products or content to them. Now we are hampered by the fact that it's very hard to understand who the customer is, and thus to provide that personalized customer experience. Any company we work with, our customers or prospects, they all have various systems that manage customer data, and all have a partial view of the customer. It's all useful data, but it's disconnected. So to make sure that you're relevant to your visitor and you're talking to them exactly about the thing that they're looking for, becomes very challenging. And as we are progressing and becoming more digitized as we go, the systems also become more advanced. We have more of them. We have more tools than we had 10 years ago. And so the customer data by default is more disconnected. and more siloed. So the problem is getting more difficult to overcome. Forrester did a research around this in 2015, and they found that marketers on average use 15 different data sources that are siloed. So they may have something for email marketing or for the web content management, another thing for analytics, different tool for testing of the content, something else entirely for social channels and for mobile applications. And this creates challenges with the customer experience. To give an example, let's say that a customer comes to your website and there you provide them with engaging content, they're interested, and you're successful. You manage to have them buy your product. Now let's say your product is a new phone, so it's a gadget. So they've bought that phone and they're happy, and now they're also registered in your customer database. Being in your customer database, the email marketing team uses that data to send out the newsletter. So a week later, the email marketing team is assembling its monthly newsletter, and they include that new customer in their blast. And in that newsletter are some latest promotion, which in this case is 10% off on the gadget that the customer just bought. So the customer was happy 1 week ago. He had bought the new phone from you. He thought he got a good deal. Now, from a customer engagement perspective, you're including him in the newsletter loop, but you're actually creating a negative experience because he realizes that he could have gotten 10% off if he would have bought now instead of a week ago. So those disconnected data points make it difficult really to understand. So the email news marketing team doesn't know that this is an existing customer and does not know what the purchase history is and has no way to automatically filter the content based on this purchase history. So to say that they want to exclude people who have purchased these products that they are showing in the promotional content, they want to exclude those people from the list, or to say that they would want to show them automatically alternative content. So to set up some kind of rules around that. So these type of disconnected experiences are very common, and they go across website or mobile application and newsletter, etc. And the marketers that do actually have a single customer database, 70% of them report that the data they collect is very useful in creating that single view of the customer and thus being able to make sure that they offer relevant content. So personalization can be achieved. It's feasible, and making sure that you offer a customized and personalized customer experience is possible, but we are really hampered by the vast amount of systems and disconnected customer data. So what is needed in order to bridge that experience gap? So we see 3 key pillars to this story in order to help you to get better at this. So number 1 is the ability to gather intelligence around the customer. So to understand really who is the customer and understand their context. So a customer that is right now interested in, for example, your credit card, let's say you're a bank or a finance company, and the visitor to your digital channels is looking at your credit card information. You profile him as someone who's looking for credit cards. Their situation may be different a month from now. They may then be looking at foreign deposit accounts or whatever. So you need to understand their context at this point in time and be able to offer them the relevant information and promotion to them at this point in time. So there's really a need for strong analytics around who the customer is and profiling of that customer, and the ability to be dynamic and shift as the customer changes. Now, having that view of the customer is not enough, because again, you have to couple that with what are you going to offer them. So if we know that this is what the customer is interested in, or if we know that this is the customer's profile, what are we going to give them? So you need to couple that with a really strong content management solution, so that the content is able to be connected to the different segments and to the different profiles that you've built of the customer, and that you're able to publish that over a multitude of channels. So there should be a disconnect or a separation between the presentation layer and the content management layer. So ideally, you want to be able to manage that content in one place and publish out over many. Why? Because the third pillar, in order to bridge the experience gap, is the ability to be consistent in your messaging across multiple channels. So if you're only able to provide the right content at the right time to the right audience on your website, it is great. But ideally, you'll also able to do that on the mobile application, and you are coupling that again with the newsletter or with SMS marketing or with your social media channels. So you're trying to paint one message towards the audience, so that you are always on point in any of your channel and you're not contradicting yourself. So these three key pillars is basically what the Sitecore experience management platform covers. So we offer strong analytics around the visitor or the customer, couple that with content management so that you can provide the right content to the right audience, and you can publish that out through a multitude of channels. So the Sitecore experience platform is really one platform, one solution that's connected and offers you context marketing capabilities. Allows you to shape individual customer experiences so that you can provide relevant experiences to different type of customers. Learn about these customers and do this at every touch point in real time and at scale, so in very large volumes. So to give an example of how this works in real life, I'll cover a customer case of ours from Europe. This is the No Nutritia. The No Nutritia offers early life nutrition, so that means baby formula, or for example, the jars with baby food for toddlers. And they had, before engaging with us, they had a fairly straightforward e-commerce strategy. So they had a website where they were displaying their products. They had information about this product, stock levels, pricing, discounts. They would send out some newsletter to their database and offer the ability to ship the products to home, so the person could order at their convenience. Why they decided to engage with us was because they realized that there was actually potential to really expand their business by shifting the conversation. Because right now, when they looked at their e-commerce strategy and they thought, how can we really be innovative and be different in the market, they realized that they had to shift the conversation from talking about their products to really talking and understanding the customer and talking about what they need. And I'll cover that in a little bit, but first, just to give you an idea of what happened once they actually did that. So we had the project with them together with our partner, and basically after going live within 1 year, they generated 800% growth in revenue from that e-commerce strategy. Also, the monthly rebuy, so the loyalty from the mothers, went up by 140%, and the average monthly revenue growth was 75% each month. So these were massive results. And it really proves that understanding who the customer is and offering them information in their context works and creates loyal and buying customers. So what did Nutritia do in order to achieve this? As I mentioned, they shifted the conversation. They wanted to understand who is the customer, what is it that they need. And initially, they were really promoting their products. They were promoting the baby formula. They were talking about the safety measures and the ingredients and all of that. But they realized that their customer was a mother, and the mother is not necessarily looking for Nutricia product information. Their main basic need inside themselves is to make sure that the baby is healthy and that the baby is happy. And they have some concerns around that. Am I choosing the right things? Am I doing the right things for my child? So they are also, there's a need for them to build their confidence around them being good mothers. So this was the need, and that can be fulfilled by a Nutricia product, that can be fulfilled by something else. But the basic intrinsic need of the mother was to make sure that the baby was healthy and happy. So Danone Nutricia decided to shift the conversation from their products and really start talking to the mothers about how to make your baby healthy and happy and how to boost the mother's confidence level. So they looked at the mother's journey, as they call it, from trying to get pregnant to being pregnant to delivering and having a baby, and looked at some key points, and which they called moment of truth, and created content around those. So for example, if you're trying to get pregnant, what kind of vitamins should you take? Some other tips in terms of calculating your ovulation periods. Then once you're pregnant, what do you eat? What do you not eat? How is your baby developing week on week? Working towards delivery date. Once the baby is there, information around the different stages of the baby's growth and what kind of nutrition is beneficial for the child. So they created content for this whole journey from preconception up to a baby being 2 to 3 years old. And whenever a mother was coming into their channels, the digital channels, they would try to map the mother to that journey so that they understood what content they had to provide. So when the mother would come in, for example, to the digital channel, they would be asked to, on the timeline, identify where they were. And then based on that, the information would be tagged for that specific period or moment of truth. So let's say that the mother comes in now and she says she's 24 weeks pregnant. If that same visitor comes back in next week, obviously the content is automatically displayed around 25 weeks pregnant. So it keeps being relevant as her journey progresses. So this was delivered through website, mobile applications, social channels, but also in the offline world. So there was a link between the online and the offline world. So for example, if a mother would come in at a store of Nutricia, a shop-in-shop, or a specific expo or event where they had a booth, if they were purchasing products, they would be asked to create a profile by the store employee, and that profile will automatically be sent back to the Sitecore database on the back end, so that they could track whenever the mother was in the store what kind of purchases she did. So they could link the complete purchase behavior from online and offline into one profile. And they did some fun ways to actually make this new digital commerce approach go live and go viral. They actually created something that they used at events and in their store, which they called a magic mirror. So basically the mother comes and stands in front of a camera, and the system asks her, well, how many weeks pregnant are you? And the moment she informs or provides that information, an image of the baby growing in her belly is projected onto her at the stage she's in. So if it's 24 weeks, it's an image of a 24-week-old fetus, and if it's 30 weeks, it's image of a 30-week-old fetus. So mothers obviously like that, and that was a fun thing for them, and they wanted to share that through social media. So they would then get the option to share this on their Facebook account, for example. Now with that, the mothers enjoyed it. It was fun. Everyone was liking in their friend circle was liking the pictures. But from a Nutricia standpoint, they would actually get information about how, in what week is the mother's pregnancy, and they would get their social profile info. So then they could start the engagement. They could start sharing information about that week and be relevant then, and next week tell them the changes that they can expect, etc. So they started to build the brand trust. So in the backend, all of this information was captured in something that we call XDB, Experience Database, and that captured interactions through any channel. So here in the upper side of the screenshot, you can see something that's a timeline basically, and you see different bars. Every single bar is a point in time when this visitor or this mother interacted with the No Nutritia system. And the higher the bar, so the more higher the vertical bar is, the more valuable that engagement was. So that can signify a purchase. And that can mean that they interacted very heavily with the content. So that means that they were really interested in what we had to say. So based on their behavior, the visitors were profiled. For example, in this case, this lady, her baby is around 6 months. So she was profiled as having a baby in that age category, and the baby has a milk allergy. So that means that, this baby would, for example, need different type of formula, and the mother needs some information around that. And this lady recently engaged with us through a Facebook campaign. So her picture here is actually extracted from the Facebook profile. And we have some information around her, and you can track how our relationship with her is progressing. So all this type of data was being captured on the back end in order to really enable that one customer view, enable being relevant and providing relevant content, and thus creating that 800% revenue growth in 1 year for the Nutritia company. So the omni-channel approach and making sure that you are offering that personalized customer experience really does work, and it's attainable. So what Sitecore does in this and how we operate and what our platform does is that from any channel that you're interacting with through your audience, any digital channel that you're using, you will have certain content that you're trying to display. So in Sitecore, on the back end, you have a central content repository where you can manage that information. That can be text, that can be pictures or videos or product information. And this may be coming from your ERP system in the backend, for example. Now, all of that content is stored and managed centrally. So let's say you have your logo. You can have one picture file in the backend in Sitecore where that logo is stored. And if your brand team comes up with an adjustment, you only need to adjust it once in the backend in Sitecore. Wherever you are publishing it out, it may be 100 different channels, it will be adjusted automatically. Whenever a person comes in from your channels and interacts with that content, it's recorded on the backend in the analytics database. So every single actionable item, a click, a download, a view, etc., is recorded in the system. And there's predefined reports. There's reports around campaigns or the traffic or aggregated view of what's happening on your digital channels. And there's also the customer profiles, which we talked about earlier, which are really individual customer views. And you can set up in the system certain rules or automation. So to say that if a person comes in and they've matched this profile, we want to show them that information, and then we want to trigger an email, and then we want to send a note to the call center to call them up. So you can set up some kind of automated flow in terms of how you're interacting with the audience. All that customer data that you're storing on the back end is then is yours, so you can basically integrate it with line of business application, like a CRM system or an ERP or whatever financial system, whatever it is that makes sense in your business case. So it's the Sitecore Experience platform is very flexible and has open standard APIs for you to really create your backend connections and to use that customer data in the way that makes sense for your business. So we've talked a little bit about the personal experience before. How does that work in real life? This is a mock-up of a website. And you can, for example, for the website, but that can also be the case for a mobile application or for an email newsletter, you can define in what way you want to personalize content, and you can define where that personalized content will appear. So let's say that this is an anonymous visitor, but he's coming in from some kind of channel. So that may be a newsletter or an advertisement or social channel. Or he may be coming from a specific geo, so you can identify based on his IP range that this visitor is coming from Taiwan, and you can see that another one is coming from Hong Kong. Based on these points, you can say whenever a person comes from Taiwan and he has triggered a specific link in the email newsletter, I want to personalize this area of the page. So the rest of the page may be the same for everyone, but you identify something that you want to personalize. Now you could just as well personalize everything. That's entirely up to you. So it's very flexible and allows you to define that customer experience in the way that makes sense for your business. Now, if a person comes in at the same time, but he's coming from Hong Kong, he may see different content here. So that's personalization, for example, based on geography. So this is an anonymous visitor. We don't know their name, but we're starting to track who they are. So we will record their IP and device ID. And if they come back next week from that IP or device, we will know that they had been here before and what they did while they were there. Now, as they are engaging with the content, we can start to build an implicit profile. So we can say that, this visitor, let's say if it's a financial services company, this visitor is a high net worth individual because they keep reading content about wealth management or about investments. So we can build some kind of profile around them, even though we don't know who they are. And based on that profile, again, we can set up some kind of personalization strategy in various areas of the page. Now, as the person is engaging more with us and we build their we get their data, we will then have information about who they are, their history, and we can then use that to personalize again based on the profile that we've built up. So basically from personalization experience, you can personalize throughout the whole journey of someone being anonymous, as well as once they're known. So there's not a need for them to really register with your company in order for you to be able to build their profiles and start to become relevant. So as a visitor, for example, comes to your website, you can learn where they're coming from. You can learn how they got there. Is it from a campaign or a paid ad? You can know stuff about their tablet, about their device. Is it a tablet, a phone, or a laptop? What version? And that can help you to define how the content is presented. Now, as they engage with your website, you can understand what pages they're interested, how long they stayed, what content they're interested in. So that information then helps you to build an understanding of who they are and what things they find interesting. And then, when they register, you actually get their information like their name, email, some data, and maybe some purchase history as they become your customer. So all of that, again, is captured on the back end and helps you to build your intelligence around the customer and to use that for your marketing and sales purposes. So in this case, for example, this gentleman, Michael Roberts, has been identified as a family visitor. So that means that all of the information that you send out to him can be relevant for a family individual. And that may be different if a person is identified as being single or as being retired. So the content, even the way that the language you're using in your articles or in your pages may be slightly different for different age categories. Now, Sitecore runs on Microsoft Azure, and why we actually recommend running Sitecore on Microsoft Azure is because of the scalability. So if you're running a campaign and all of a sudden your traffic spikes, let's say you have a TV ad running and the traffic to your website doubles all of a sudden once that TV ad hits, if you're running your website with Sitecore on Microsoft Azure, they can handle the scale. So it's flexible, scalable. You pay only for what you use. It has best in the market features in terms of security and privacy. So we are a very dedicated partner to Microsoft in this. And if you're running Sitecore Microsoft Azure, not just the scalability is an added benefit, but also the deployment. So your time to market is faster. You can set up a Sitecore environment with a few clicks, and then your teams can start building the content and the website and defining how the page should look like, etc. But the technical deployment is very, very quick. So who are we? As a closing point before we head to the Q&A, who is Sitecore? We're actually a European company. We've been founded in 2001 and have been basically doing digital marketing or context marketing related stuff already since the beginning of the internet world. So when the first content management platforms were being built, we were there, and we've been evolving our platform ever since to adapt to the changes in the market. And we have a global presence. So our headquarters is still in Denmark, but we are covered globally in terms of our physical office location, but also with the partner network. We expand beyond where our physical locations are. So, for example, we have an office in Hong Kong, and we have an office in Taiwan, and in mainland China in Shanghai. But we cover obviously other regions of China from Shanghai. And in Southeast Asia, for example, our headquarters is in Singapore. We have a location in Kuala Lumpur and in Jakarta, but we do business as well in Thailand and in Philippines together with our partners. We have been in the Gartner Magic Quadrant for digital marketing web content management already for 7 years in a row. And as you can see from Gartner perspective, one of the things that they really value is the experience database, so the ability to have that 360-degree view of the customer. And we've been in this position already 7 years in a row. We only do context marketing or digital marketing. That is what our platform does. We are very laser focused on this topic, and our goal is to be the best in the market in this. We've had a really strong partnership with Microsoft already for a number of years. Since 2012, we've been a Microsoft global partner. These are some of the companies that are running Sitecore on Azure with us. There's many, many more, but this is just an idea to give you an idea of the brand names that are using us with Azure. And we have a very strategic alliance with Microsoft specifically around this to make sure that our platform performs really well on the Azure platform. These are some of our customers in Greater China. So there's various industries here. Sitecore is a horizontal solution, so you can use it for health services around, for example, patient engagement, government-related websites around citizen engagement. This can be used for manufacturing firms, for retailers, financial services, hospitality, travel. And the customer references reflect this. We also have various customers in Southeast Asia, which some are banks and others, again, are, for example, in travel or telcos. As well as Australia and New Zealand, we have over 400 customers there, and in Japan. So, I think that concludes the webinar for now. Please take the opportunity to download on the right. This is a white paper that talks about Sitecore on Azure and how it works and what the benefits are of running it on Azure. So that will be it from my end, and I'd be very happy to take your questions right now.
Thank you, Tanya, for the presentation earlier. We will now move on to the Q&A segment. So far, we have seen a few questions coming in. Please do keep them coming. If you look to the right-hand side of your screen, you'll see a Q&A box. You can type your questions in the chat box on the left, and we will answer your question live. Just to let you know also, this webinar will be recorded and we'll be sending the recording link to you after this show.
So I guess we have a couple of questions typing in, and I would encourage you guys to quickly type in your questions, and so that we can answer them accordingly. So let me try to pick some of them first. Well, this one is an interesting one. It's a very quick and easy questions, but I think it indicates the intention. So this audience is asking, how long does a typical implementation take? So you want to take on that, Tanya?
Sure. Can you hear me okay?
All right. So it's putting on screen. Yeah.
Hi, Dixon.
Tanya?
Johnson, can you hear me?
Can you come closer?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. You've asked about the implementation, right? In terms of how long it takes to get Sitecore in. So obviously it varies. The project that we did with Danone Nutricia, the one that we covered in the webinar just now, that took about a year to really, but there was a lot of work involved there around strategy as well, and defining what the message was that would resonate with their audience, and then figuring out what the channels would be and how to make sure that that the audience would actually be on those channels, so how to get them there. So that was quite an intensive and big scale project. Now with some customers we start smaller, and they want to just work on one channel, and then maybe if you're having the audio on of the computer, you can. So for some customers we start smaller, and then the implementation can take anywhere between 3-4 months, and then a year, or in very large scale projects it can be a year and a half if there's a lot of content involved and a lot of different channels that are being rebuilt.
I see. So in a nutshell, it can go as fast as 3 to 4 months, and then it will grow if the project scale goes up. Okay. We started to get lots of questions now, so I'm pushing in more and more. So this one's coming from. This one is asking, can you provide more information about the licensing model? I guess this one's coming from. Hang on. Okay. So, hang on. Sorry.
So, from a licensing model perspective, there's 2 different options. We can look at a consumption-based model. So, if you are, for example, you've built a website with Sitecore, we would be looking at the amount of traffic that website is gathering. You would be paying for the amount of traffic, or in our case, that's based on visits. So if you have a low amount of visits, you are in a lower tier in terms of pricing, and as your visits go up, you go up in tiers. That gives you the possibility, if you have a channel that you're just building, so this is something new, or that you're trying to promote, you can build the technical backend to scale out and pay only for the low amount of visits that you're getting right now. So it really gives you a very optimum model, because you have the technical backend in place, but you are not, you're just paying for the visits that you have at the moment, which can be low. The other model is to really look at the server sizing and have an installation-based price. So you look at the amount of servers that are needed in order to handle the traffic, and you pay those. That will be a perpetual model.
I see. So there is another question that is quite related to the previous one, is that they would like to know about the pricing. So I guess a ballpark related to your previous questions would be helpful.
Sure. So again, it depends a bit of the size, right? So you're running a channel and it has 100,000 visits on average per month versus having 2 million, 3 million, or more visits per month. It will change the price. But I would say, in general, from an enterprise perspective, we in general would see a licensing cost between, and I'm quoting this now in Sing dollars, so forgive me, because I actually don't have the Hong Kong dollar pricing. Maybe you can convert, but it will be between 100 to 150, which would pay, which on a yearly basis, which is an average price. For mid-tier, we're looking at 50 to 70K, and then there's the enterprise scale customers that would have 300K or more per year in terms of the.
Okay. Thank you. So I see another pile of questions that are related not to pricing now. So it's about the personalization. So, well, I pushed the wrong one. This one, right? Okay, so are there any B2B scenario for which, oh no? Oh, right. So, no. So how does the setup of the personalization work? Does this need IT support for the algorithm setting or coding, etc.? So would that be easy for a general user to do the personalization?
Actually, no. So the setup of personalization is done by marketing. Actually, the Sitecore tool is built to be used by business users, so to be used by marketers. So defining how the website looks like, or how the front end looks like of the newsletter, and what personalization you enable there is all actually done by business users with a very easy to use interface. So the goal is to make sure that the marketing teams can run their day-to-day business, run their campaign, define the content strategy, figure out how they want to personalize and test that content by themselves without needing to go back to IT. So they go back to IT really when there's a rebuild required. But for their day-to-day business, they're able to run everything by themselves. Very user-friendly interface.
Okay, good. This one is another interesting one. It's about cloud. All right, so if the user cannot use cloud due to regulations, what option do they have?
Well, for example, this comes up a lot with financial services industry customers or with government customers. There's often some regulations around data sovereignty, and the IT teams have concerns around putting their data in the cloud. But it's important to remember that, number one, when you're working with Sitecore, it is a tool for digital marketing. That means that the content that's on there is public content. You are presenting that to the world anyway, so it's not confidential information. The data that you are capturing around the customer interactions, however, you can put on premise. So that one, if you know you can't get around the regulation, you can't use the cloud for that. You put the data on premise, and you make sure that the content that you're publishing out is on the cloud, and that the servers that are on the cloud are able to handle the traffic spikes. So if you are running that TV ad and that makes, that doubles the amount of traffic you're getting, then your website is still able to handle it, and your IT team is not burdened by having to fire up so many more servers to take the load. So the flexibility, the scalability, and everything is still there, but you put the customer data on premise, so you create a hybrid model. So that's a common scenario that we've, taken with customers.
I see. So another related to the previous questions is that this was coming from a bank user. For bank or insurance world where we do not sell online, how can Sitecore help us? And how would we measure success?
Well, actually we have a lot of financial services industry customers, and the success there is measured around conversion points, and conversion points do not necessarily have to be the sale or the transaction point in the branch, but it can be to generate leads. So if it's about insurance, for example, you can use your digital channel for engagement, for promoting your insurance, for making sure that people understand what you're offering and how you differentiate yourself from the competition, and then to generate leads which your agents can follow up on. And that's very easily measurable because it's all in the digital environment, so the data is there. And for a banking perspective, it can be the same. It can be either new customer acquisition through media optimization, placing banners online, or through email blasts and making sure that you are attracting customers to your channel, trying to get their interest, for example, in a new credit card or in a new savings account or whatever promotion you're running. But it can also be for existing customer engagement. So the large banks that have a really large customer base are usually interested to make sure that their customers start using more of their products. So instead of just having a savings account, to also start doing investments, for example. So then it's about existing customer engagement and upsell and cross-sell, or it can be new customer acquisition.
Okay. Just a quick reminder, guys. There is a link on your right-hand side on your screen that can help you to get a white paper. So do register and get your free white paper. And we still have a few questions. So if you have anything you want to ask, please type in to your question box, and I would prioritize some of those interesting questions to ask. And one more thing is that we have recorded this webinar. So in case that you want to review the material today, feel free to get into that. Okay. All right. So this one is how do we get a demo of the solutions? Do we have it?
Yeah. So for demos of Sitecore, we usually work together with the customer. So we would be very happy to come by. So if you can just leave your details or let us know that you're interested by filling in the form, we will get back in touch with you, and a representative of ours will come by to to gladly demo the Sitecore solution. You can have more in-depth conversations in a meeting in your office. So just let us know if you're interested, and we'd be happy to follow up.
Okay, so just a quick one I can answer too. Someone asked, how can you guys get the recording? Actually, we have all your information, so we'll send out emails separately to all the attendees today, and they would have the link and they can review the material. Okay, so do we have more coming? Okay, this one. Are there any B2B scenario for which Sitecore can be used?
Yeah, there are many actually. Anytime that you have high volume engagement through the digital channel, if it's B2B or B2C, you can use a tool like Sitecore to help you. So some scenarios are, for example, between distributors and their retailers, or between the manufacturer and the distributor and the retailer, to make sure that they're pushing out the product information. They enable their distributor or the retailer to place the bulk orders. There may be integrations to the backend system, SAP. Other scenarios can be basically, for example, in the automotive industry, the brand such as Toyota working with its resellers to make sure that the dealers, to make sure that they're driving traffic to the dealers. So a big example is work that we're doing with Toyota in Australia. The Toyota brand site is fully running on Sitecore. They're profiling the users. The mobile application is also getting all of the data and analytics from Sitecore. And by doing that, they realize when a specific visitor is interested in a specific car, and they offer him test drives, already being aware of the location of the visitor, because Sitecore offers the geo IP information. So they direct that visitor to the nearest dealer and tell them that the car is available there for a test drive. So they're actually pushing through their channel traffic to the dealers and into the retail location.
Okay.
And the other ones, as I said, is between distributor, retailers, partner communication, variety of situations where you can use for.
Okay. So this one is, if we already have our own CMS, is there any way to track the user journey in the e-commerce platform?
Yes, there is actually. So a lot of our customers, when we first spoke with them, obviously they have a lot of systems in place. As we saw in the presentation, on average, there's about 15 different tools that a marketer works with. So that's a common situation. And you can use Sitecore to insert tracking script into the pages. That's a small line of JavaScript that you would be inserting into your existing website or e-commerce platform. And you would then be using Sitecore to build out profiles and analytics of the users on the back end. So that can be a small-scale start for you to start understanding who the customer is. If you remember from the presentation, the 3 pillars is 1, understanding the customer. 2 is coupling it with personalization and being able to personalize that over multiple channels. This will enable you to do the number 1, so you start to build your analytics about the customer. And it will give you the possibility to personalize a little bit. So even though you have, for example, a PHP or an HTML website currently that's not a Sitecore environment, if you've inserted that tracking script, you can identify placeholder on that page for personalization. So that can, for example, be one box on the page where you want Sitecore to control the content based on the profile that you've built. you're limited in terms of your personalization if the website is not built on Sitecore. So you can, place one box or two. You can't personalize everything, but it can be a start. So to track the analytics and to start personalizing and seeing the value of doing that, and then if if that works for you and you're convinced of the value, you can decide to rebuild every Sitecore.
Okay. Thank you. So I guess we answer all of the questions, and thank you very much, Tanya, and all the attendees. And the final reminder to the audience is that feel free to register yourself on the right-hand side to get your free white papers. And thank you very much for your attending. And forgot to say, Happy Chinese New Year. Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.